Hello, and welcome to the final day of the 5th International Symposium on Arts, Crafts, and Design in Southeast Asia, Arcadesa 2021. This is the second session of the day. My name is Elena Azmi from the Creative College of Arts, formerly known as the Faculty of Art and Design here at University Technology Mara, UITM, Malaysia. I will be your host and moderator for this session. Ladies and gentlemen, in making sure that our Arcadesa stages continued during the pandemic, the digital symposium was initiated for us to promote the sharing of views, ideas, and also to strengthen our relationships among the Southeast Asian countries. Before we begin our second session with our special guest, I would like to remind everyone here today that if you have any questions, please type them into the comment box below. We will present these questions to our guest later on during our Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, currently the director of CSED Studio and the co-founder of Living Streets Association Australia, Dr. Jane Lee I Chan Lee obtained her PhD of Environmental Design from the University of Canberra in 2015. She holds 2 master degrees, including Master of Landscape Architecture from University of Canberra in 2008 and Master of Business from Sydney University in 2006. In Taiwan, she used to be the assistant professor adjunct in Tsinghua University and Yuan University, as well as the editorial consultant for Green Magazine. She received various children's awards for her significant contribution to youth and children by ACT Government Education from 2015 and 2021. Between 2016 and 2020, she organized various international conferences between Taiwan and Australia. In addition to that, she was also honored with the Outstanding Teaching Award in China in 2018. Allow me to present our invited guest speaker for today, Dr. Jane Lee, on the topic of From East to West, Social Neighborhood Design Principles to Contemporary Urban Living, Planning Living Streets. Welcome, Dr. Jane Lee.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for invitations. My old friends, Dr. Hesselings, we are PhD students using the same office, I think around 4 to 5 years. Yes, and it's my great honor to speak in her university today. And today, the topic is from East to Western. So I'm just sharing my screen now. I will divide to the 2 sessions today. So the first session, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's right there.
Okay. Yes, because sometimes maybe have some delay. Yes, I would like to speak my research experience. It's around 10 years. Since 2009 to, now it's 2021, more than 10 years. Then I spent 5 years doing this special topic. I'm originally from Taiwan and been in Australia for near 20 years. Yes, but my work traveled between different nations a lot. Then why I would like to choose this topic? This one is my true passion, and as a East Asian citizen, and also particularly Taiwanese. And we are also, long time ago, we share the same ancestor, same history with mainland China. So as we know, Chinese history has more than 1,000 years. So that's something very good in our heritage. Just I want to make it sense to the contemporary urban planning. My background also, I'm teaching in a lot of city planning related to eco-city, social neighborhood, and community planning. And so I would like to start with my first session. So I'll give you a little bit the brief, and I spent 5 years for this research. Then I will jump to the second session, the contemporary experiment in Australia. So also we call it Living Streets. So later we will show you the new website. So this quoting is from Dalai Lama, if you know, and he has say, we in contemporary life, we have bigger houses, but smaller families, more convenience, but less time. We have more degree, but less sense, more knowledge, but less judgment, more experts, but more problems. So more medicine, but less well-being. These are the times of tall men but short characters, steady profits, and shallow relationship. So we have all the technology, but we have trouble crossing the street to meet the new neighbors. So why I quoting this? Because when I moved to Australia to work and study, I find the community life is terrible here, especially in the urban area. No community spirit, as you see. Very urbanized city and a big wide road, and all the house is kind of international style. However, I won't think that's a good community spirit over here. So later, I conduct my research with in University of Canberra, and I also teaching at that time in the landscape Department of Landscape Architecture. So as a piling, I'm all the question, and that's a couple's important books. We also have a Mandarin translation, and also the classic book in English called The Death and Life of Great American Cities. That's a pioneering sociable neighborhood in the new urban planning. Jane Jekyll, 1961. She already passed away, but her book delivered and point out a really important question. And it criticized the urban planning in the contemporary cities just doesn't work. So it argues all the urban communities is too big. We should more focus on people's daily lives. So then also the basic human scale and basic human need. So when we look at the basic human needs, and that's a Maslow theory. I think if we study psychology or education, you will probably know from 1943, and it been applied widely in any fields. So the basic need for our human being is psychology needs like food, shelters, water, sleeping. Then if we have all the basic needs, then we need to we as a human being we need the other hierarchies called safety. So we will need to have a sweet home and also love and belonging. Then after that, we will need the self-actualization and instincts. Otherwise, we won't feel happy. So if we so my research also is kind of cross fields because I want to making sense of design, but all the design come from the human being. If we want to making sense of design, we have to understand how people live. Then so I also tracing back the education, and if you can see when kids is when the growing stage, they are in the very beginning stage, so it's very easy to observe their behavior. So I also consult with an important researcher in UC, and she is from Department of Education, and yes, Dr. Kamo. She also the director of the Wagery preschool and as an educator. And she gave me a really good advice after review my thesis. And she told me, Jen, how about you look at in the preschool and childhood, that's a basic needs as well for fully growing up human beings. So if you look at the preschool setting, the early childhood setting, like a child care, then you also have a home and community, then come to the individual. So everything connecting strongly all together. And as the other book in Africa, I think it probably same as Malay and a lot of cities, just we call in a different name. And the other children's book, and it really making sense is, but it's Africa's old saying, it takes a village to raising a kid. So raising a kid, not just an individual can do that, or a household. Actually, it takes a whole village, whole community to support a kid's growing. Then so my research come with a 9th question. Actually, very simple question. It also referred to our classic research book. If you study architecture or landscape architecture or city planning, you will know this old but classic book, Good City Form. And this Good City Form, published in 1981, Cambridge, MIT Press. What makes a good city? The Kevin Lynch. Then he asking a very simple question. What makes a good city? Then he conduct this very important book. Then so my research question is, what makes a good neighborhood? Not a city, neighborhood. So I've been tracing back, because we know the contemporary setting probably didn't work, especially in urban area. So all my research then, even though based in Australia, then I start to tracing back all the human beings' history. So all my research, I found the old ancient settlement time around 5,000 years ago. As you see the pattern like this, it's different village in around the different states contents, like US and like Chinese or like India, or yes, it's all around the world, and they have a similar pattern, a cluster of houses and a main house in the middle. As I point out in the middle, and they might have some fence like you see in the bottom here, and the main house draw a little bit bigger. Then I relook at our contemporary, we won't say contemporary, it's more like an ancient village. Like in Taiwan, I conduct some field trip in Taiwan, and we still have a lot of old, we call Koya housing, Sanheyuan. This one is down to the Kaohsiung, Taiwan. And that's my friend's house, so that I can easily conduct all the research, and it making really great sense for how we call neighborhood. So I also draw the simple red point here, and with you can see the red line here. Actually, it can be like a main house, but the village, all the friends or their relatives live around this size. And they might have some simple veggie gardens or make everything sustainable. You see that when I arrive, my friend brought me there, and a lot of their relatives all come along and greeting and sharing food. So and it's kind of a village, even though they share the same surname. And they have a lot of social interaction, different season or different occasion. Like in Chinese New Year, they might have a dragon walking around all the neighborhood, and they might have their banquet if someone get wedding or the special events, and they might have their funeral as well if someone pass away in their family. And in their main house also have a special design, small hill, gentle hill here. Then they told me it's represent because their ancestor, they do pray, so they put their ancestor in the main house. Then they do a lot of we will probably call it like a family meetings and family education over there, and pray to their mommy and dad or grandparents or great-grandparents. Then they make this one like a very comfortable chair for them to lie spiritually. Of course, we can't see visually. So and then I tracing back how can this Jewish family, their surname Jewish family can live like this way for more than 100 years. Maybe in Taiwan, probably around 200 years, when they migrate all from mainland China to Taiwan and setting up all the thing. Then I found that's because, and that's not just single case. There's a lot of this kind of we call Koya housings, and still remain a really strong family values and village values in our country town. Then I found it all because of our cultural belief system. And so all the Chinese will know that's called philosophy of community spirit by ancient Confucius. So in Chinese, they have a different translation, but here I just translate to the great communities. So the great communities, everything shared by all. So it actually comes from individual, then to family, then community, then society. So in that way, I found why our co-yard housing, especially the big one in Taiwan, is making a lot of sense. So it represents harmony and unity altogether. So that's why our housing typology looks like this way. Now the individual setting is more like together cluster housing. Then so I also look at how if this one can represent like a single layers drawing and just quite simple and it probably accommodate maybe only 100, 200. So I wonder how about the bigger one, how we live. So then I also tracing all the data back to mainland China. I found that some drawing multi-stories so can accommodate maybe near 1,000 people and still live that way in Guangdong and also Fujian. And that's a lot of data from mainland China, the architecture faculty and the professor bring their students to conduct those ancient village. So they must have some reason why they're willing to live that way. So, and Tulo, of course, they already list as a heritage building. So I start this. This must have some sharing principle. So each unit is complete and independent entity. However, it's not so simple as we see. Otherwise, the culture won't be sustained to the generations. So my Western professor keep asking me, Jen, it must have some reason. It can pass generations to generations, more than hundreds or thousands years. They must have some reason. So I found that's all related to our cultural belief system, and not religion, just a cultural belief system. The concept of heaven, earth, man, and divine entity all contained in that simple house. So it probably called house, home, family, and the community. It's very dense concept. So I did a lot of research. I studied more than hundreds of them and bring the more useful one and try to make a conclusion. Is there any principle we can use for when we design a contemporary community? So the critical thinking for my traditional we call CCH heritage. So question one, why people willing to live together? Why? Because you know that contemporary life, like here, everyone like their own privacy. Probably not only here. Taiwanese now contemporaries living, everyone want their privacy. So if you are going to design a community, and also wish to embrace the community spirit, how you design that? And question two, why single CCH, we call the small courtyard housing, can develop into really large CCH complex, like you see the apartments buildings. So later I found first one, social benefits. Because of social benefits, numerous families experience a genuine sense of safety, stability, and belonging in this spatial area. So it also contributes to the social cost. It can reduce the social cost. And third one, the disadvantaged population, children, women, like someone, maybe their family has a husband passed away or a wife passed away and or orphaned or single family, we call single family, or elderly people, people have limited mobilities that can be taken care of in this complex. So let's couple social benefits. That's why those complex can preserve until now, and people still live in that way. So I have to make the contemporary, in my research, I have to make making sense of contemporary living. And so I wish to bring those principles to the contemporary living. Then so I have to rethink how we make sense of our Eastern spirit, Eastern settlements, Eastern heritage. So just imagine that how great it will be with the human warmth. That's a Taiwanese. We always call us, if other people see us, we have a strong human warmth. We always are very nice to other people and treat other people. Do you want tea? That's our greeting way. If you visit our countries, you will, our counties in Taiwan, let's still allow people contact that way. And most people still very friendly. We never attack anyone. Then we always invite you. Instead of saying hello, we will say, "Did you eat? Have you eaten?" And then bring you the food. So how the human wants implement in contemporary communities, and the neighborhood, maybe the street level, acting like a courtyard housing, which brings the children and neighbors together. Like I took a photo. That's not my own photo, just the photo from that ancient housings, and there's the children's in their courtyard. So then I try to implement those concepts into contemporary Australian streets to making sense of that. So I do my experiment here, special experiment. Then the other question, why larger CCH complex develop? So I also tracing back to BC 2000 years ago. That's the other our social support system. That's a private home and a public land, or private farmland, and one in the middle has to be a publicly sharing commons. Here in English they call commons. So sharing commons is represent sharing. Then I found there's a multi-layers buildings. The left-hand side is the CCH large complex in China, Tulou, in Guangdong province, and also Fujian province. And the right-hand side is all the contemporary architect, follow the concept and bring to the contemporary looking. Like the upper one is a Denmark's a student hostel, and the right hand side, the bottom one, is the current contemporary building, apartments, housing in China. And also I found Singapore apply a lot. So that's why Singapore's underground, ground level or public. And you're probably familiar with Singapore. Singapore, probably not, I can't really exactly remember the number. Like 90% of Singapore is that live in like a compound, their ancient village, but rather than is all in the public housing. And their public housing systems designed by their government, urban planning, and they design that way because they follow the concept. Then they also migrate from mainland China to Singapore to set up Singapore. So they follow this really good concept from mainland China, Tulou, to the contemporary public housing in Singapore, because they try to make the neighborhood feeling. And why Singapore do that? Because Singapore from 3 different ethnic groups. And it's very important if your country is not, they don't live in a harmony way, then they will probably have a lot of trouble. I think people, you probably know what I mean. So that's kind of a strategy. Singapore government try to let you understand your neighbor. So they use a space to creating those communal area in their ground floor. So people have to interact because you will see your neighbor. Yes, that's a kind of strategy to design a neighborhood feeling. So if here I also want to discuss. Yes, then I conclude in my 5 years research, I found the principle of CCH, He Yuan, to facilitate a social neighborhood. I call it social neighborhood because this is the most common word in research academic life. So the first one is appropriate site planning CCH is special arrangement. So if you wish to have those kind of cross-fitting neighborhood, the first one, you have to set up your spatial arrangement right. Then second one is a neighborhood volunteers. You really need someone really with a kind heart, like probably like if university, like you have to have a really good dean or really good head of faculty to be a lead to their tribe, same as our village. So then you can call out other as a volunteers. And third one, you have to have proper activity introduction. Activities can't be the same because every neighborhood, every communities, they're all different. Depend on your, like in the university, depend on your faculty staffs. And in the communities, depend on, your community members. Like in Australia, there's more than 100 different ethnic group and from all around the world, the migrants. So it's huge different. And fourth one, the sense of trust established over time. Why time is important? Because people need to know in you. Can you trust? Of course. So that's an important conclusion in my research. If we wish to set up the contemporary community, making sense of a great sense of communities, you have to have those principles. Then I look at, it's actually around the world. I really have a lot of people looking for that kind of living. In European Australia, they call co-housing. Of course, in Australia, not so successful, just very a few of them. But in European and US and in Japan, some countries, they wish to have those strong sense of community they call co-housing. So I hear also some photos that probably apply some principle in. And the left corner is when I started those special trial back to 2011, 2012. So we tried to find the suitable activities. We have a right special settlement, however, suitable activity, and we have someone really enthusiastic for running those kind of program. One is me, and one is other co-founder. Then a couple families also cooperate. Then the living street starting from 1 point and 1 street. Then now why is living streets? Because it's X plural. It's already applying in the whole, I think the concept, whole the neighborhood. So you will see a lot of children playing in the street, not afraid of car. So yes, so that's my first session. And now I want to share the second session. It's a living streets, contemporary one. Okay. Yep. Okay. Then you see this website. Our young fellows, a lot of living street use. Here you will see a lot of names. Yes, they contribute to. They're all volunteers. They're all young, enthusiastic members in the living streets. And they contribute a lot during the Australia have a fall school holidays, long season. So they also develop different variety of events free for everyone, every kids, every family, and they're helping a community do some thing like newsletter delivery, a lot of things. So yeah, Living Streets is a young group, and they're doing this kind of parts in Taiwan. We combine those concepts into our tertiary education. We call social responsibilities. So I just bring these social responsibilities into the living street youth. And Australia, they are quite independent. They are young people. They start to earning money, part-time money from 12. And legally, normally most young teenagers start to earn their pocket money around 15 years old. Then they will start to working in a restaurant and a lot of place to make their independent living. So this website, why we create this website? Because we want to share for free. Everyone can start, because a lot of people experience those kind of event. They quickly bring those concepts to their neighborhood. So currently, those kind of concepts already implemented to several streets. I haven't calculated how many, and it always full of people in the Christmas time, in Halloween. Yeah, or maybe sometimes weekend and Friday night, you see a lot of you will see a lot of the neighbor. They randomly call out their street gathering, like a beer or coffee, or even though the winter time, the fire pits put in the front. So here I also put the program. We set up the program so people can reference. Maybe you can learn from that to setting up your own, and the placemaking. So it gives some tips how you set up, and importantly, still have your privacy, but you also have a common space. Yeah, and there's also a lot of different kind of activities. And Australia, they really like green and veg gardens. So yes, so those are all the small tips you can start your living street, depending on your street type. If you have a children, you might wish to put some play equipment. So everyone share by all. So like one street, you probably see different play equipment in front of everyone's house. So all the kids, they can free use like a little pocket park. And pocket park in the landscape architecture, we call it a very important elements. Then it's especially in the COVID. And the other reason we're setting up a Living Street website, because it's all NGO, no profit. And the youth also can have some growth. The youth put some background music in this website. Let's switch up. Yeah. So we wish to helping, not only the children and also the teenager and adults to fully grow in their community. And we find volunteering, you don't need to go far. Actually, in your neighborhood, you can start. So, and how? So that's all the tips on the website. And the other special reason, because during the pandemic, it's very easy to facing the lockdown. And I especially study the neighborhoods, satellite cities. So because Canberra is unique setting, then I found those kind of neighborhoodings is very important, especially in the post-COVID era. So that's why I spend a lot of time wish to inform the general public we can start. Then we have a strong member now start to join us. Then we will kick those things, starting maybe from Canberra and also around the world. Then yes, we hope we can make some contribution to that. And the last one I wish to share, it's a Living Trees YouTube. Wait a second. Oh, it's here. Yeah, it's here. So you can see the couples. We slowly added. It's not long time ago. You see, that's just 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months. Our young teens start to work. So if you see from website, that's the real happening stories, and during the pandemic, how they contribute to the neighborhood and how everything starts. So that's, maybe we still got some time. Maybe we can look some of them together. Yeah, that's one of them, and we might have look others. We still got some time. It's like this. Oh,
डेटा को और मशीन लर्निंग के एस्पेक्ट्स को काफी डीपली समझना पड़ेगा मेरे हिसाब से, मुझे ऐसा लगता है। एंड मैं ये क्यों बोल रहा हूँ, क्योंकि मशीन लर्निंग से ही आप है ना डेटा ड्रिवन इनसाइट्स और डेटा ड्रिवन रिजल्ट्स निकालने की कोशिश करेंगे। आपके पास बहुत सारा डेटा हो जाएगा, बट वो डेटा को आपको इंफॉर्मेशन में कन्वर्ट करना है और फिर उस इंफॉर्मेशन को उस इंसाइट में कन्वर्ट करना है। मेरे पास एक यही बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग स्लाइड है, अनफॉर्चुनेटली मैं स्लाइड प्रेजेंट नहीं कर पाऊंगा इस बारे में। आप गूगल करेंगे तो आपको शायद से ऐसे कोई क्रिएटिव्स भी मिल जाएंगे कि डेटा, इंफॉर्मेशन और इंसाइट में क्या फर्क होता है। ओके, तो जब आप इंसाइट क्रिएट करते हैं तब आप उस पर्टिकुलर प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट की सोल्यूशन निकालने की कोशिश करते हैं, और यही मेरे पर्सनल ओपिनियन में यही रीजन है आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के एग्जिस्टेंस का। फाइनली नीति आयोग और द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में क्या इंटरवेंशंस कर रहा है। ओके, नीति आयोग का एक स्पेशल विंग है जिसको फ्रंटियर टेक्नोलॉजी विंग बोलते हैं, ठीक है। ये अटल इनोवेशन मिशन की विंग से डेफिनेटली अलग है, और है कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस बेस्ड और टेक्नोलॉजी इंटरवेंशन बेस्ड पॉलिसी कैसे बनाना, ठीक है, और स्टार्टअप्स के साथ एंगेज करके उनको और एनहांस कैसे करना। तो ये काफी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है अगर आपको आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के बारे में बहुत इंटरेस्ट है और आपको ये भी समझना है कि एक गवर्नमेंट, हमारे देश का गवर्नमेंट कैसे आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को बढ़ावा देने की कोशिश कर रहा है, तो आप डेफिनेटली फ्रंटियर टेक्नोलॉजीज के बारे में भी पढ़ सकते हैं, ठीक है। तो ये मतलब ये पूरा कैवियार्ड्स है। अगर आपको बेसिक आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस सीखना है तो ये मॉड्यूल्स है एम की वेबसाइट पे, और अगर आपको समझे स्ट्रेटेजी या पॉलिसी में काम करना है, ऑब्वियसली आज नहीं 10 साल बाद 5 साल बाद, ठीक है, तो आप ये भी पढ़ सकते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट्स क्या कर रहे हैं आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को एनहांस करने के लिए, और ये सभी इंफॉर्मेशन कंप्लीटली अवेलेबल है इंटरनेट पे। एंड आई थिंक इंटरनेट इज योर बिगेस्ट and your best friend when it comes to learning right now, considering the COVID times and everything. It has proven to be that. Okay, so do as much as research as you can, as much as innovation as you can. And obviously ATL marathon जो competition है हमारा वो active है, तो अगर आपके पास कोई इंटरेस्टिंग सोल्यूशन है कोई प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट का, तो मैं आपको बहुत ही हाईली एनकरेज करूंगा उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए, क्योंकि इट इज नॉट
All right, thank you, Dr. Jane Lee, for such a great talk on from east to west social neighborhood design principles to contemporary urban planning, living streets. We now have come to an end with our session with Dr. Jane Lee. These brilliant insights you share with us, we truly appreciate you taking the time to deliver such a thought-provoking, eye-opening, and inspiring information with us. We are now entering the Q&A session. There are several interesting questions that we have identified, so allow me to address some of them. Firstly, how does the social neighborhood design, in this case, living streets, benefit those who are living in them?
Oh, that's a lot of benefit. Take a really easy example. I put in not really academic way because the community actually is very like everyone living in a house and community. So one of the neighbor, they will say, "Oh, Jen, my friend living in the $1 million suburb, and I will invite her to here, and we just very ordinary street. However, with those kids always playing outside without." We don't need to block the street. It's just naturally people slow down and taking care of each other, and like olden time. During that time, the neighbor is from Croatia originally and have a government business, government's job. Yeah, and she just said she will call this kind of street called million dollar street. But even though you have $1 million, you can't buy. So it's like a family values, like Haseling. I remember long time ago. Sorry, Haseling, I said call your name. Yes, yes, Dr. Haseling told me in Malay, people were living in a big house, not just simple but big house. Like her and all her sister brothers all sleeping in a room, but very close and tight. They support each other. So now the living street is like this. Just we are not the same parents. Probably the parents universe. Then we share the same ground, but we taking care of each other. And like one time my car been stolen, and other neighbors, I'm not quite sure how they inform each other. They have their app system. Say, hey, Jenny's car been stolen last night or something. And another neighbor, I didn't know who they are. They keep texting me, Jen, I'm the blah, 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 blah. And I know you, blah, blah, blah. You are good, very kind person, blah, blah, blah. And I got a few cars in my garage. If you need one, I'm happy to lend you for free. And if you need a lift, call me. So that's like an old ancient time village, right? Not old, probably not ancient time. I know Malay probably have a similar culture and belief, same as Taiwanese. So that's a very strong benefit, and neighborhood watch as well. So like a lot of parents, if they have young kids, they will take turns to taking care of each other's kids. So you don't need to put your kids to the childcare, after school care. So it saves you money as well. After the COVID, people need to learn the important value of share. Why the sharing becomes so important? Back to the slides I shared earlier. The little kids, they need to learn sharing and caring if they are enrolled in a it's the best one childcare system in University of Canberra, because they are leading childcare. So they all educated, actually there's very high knowledge. They all a PhD in the UC and they're teaching in the Department of Education. Then they need to learn sharing is caring. Sharing, and especially after COVID, I think the gap between poor and rich will become bigger and greater. A lot of materials, food will become very expensive, maybe triple times more. It's already start to happen here. So people, the gap between rich and poor will become bigger and bigger. That's why we need to learn sharing resources, everything about sharing. So you probably don't need to have your own car or two cars in one household. You just learn sharing. So that's the other system, because I also teaching urban planning. So sharing car, you can, if sometimes you need to rent a car, just one day. Yeah, you probably don't need to use your car very often. Like I can use my, like 70% of Camparian, they're working in the government or university now, they're working from home. And they're very happy to working from home. So you probably don't use your car every day. And why you have to pay the registration a year? It's very expensive. Yes. So yeah, I found there's a lot of benefit, and also contribute, because the depression rate is very high in Australia. Yes. So I found those theory, you can't just writing in the paper. When you really join the event, you will feel that happiness. Like having tea and cup of tea and coffees or cookies with your good friends or good colleague. Yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, what are the big differences between the Asian and the Western in terms of social neighborhoods principles?
Oh, it's really hard. In Taiwan University, I don't really teach social neighborhood. We will teach eco city because we are very strong at the concept of community planning already a decade, and all the universities has architecture faculty that teaching this subject, and we learn from Japan probably 2 decades ago, and our government also strong support. They will give the funding for helping the community have those kind of event, and the community planner, we call it, they will have the money as their salary. But here it's very different, because Western, they are individualism. So there is referred to their housing is 1-to-1, it's separate. And I found it come from their religion belief, Christians, because of privacy. And yes, it's all related to the cultural background. And so when all the people moving to here, they won't feel the community. Most of them, whatever you are, Eastern, Westerns, which country, there's more than hundreds different nations here. So the industry been 10 years, and the neighbors always change, maybe every 1 or 2 years or 2 to 4 years. Whatever their races, everyone cooperate. So it doesn't matter about the looking. Just they embrace the concept, belonging and love. Yes, so that's why if I teaching in Australia, I teaching community planning. But if I teaching in Asia, we need to learn how to grow more greens and cherish the nature. Yes, so it's different because we have a different strengths. So that's why we should learn from each other, the good thing, to combine them together.
All right. The next question is there any impact in terms of socialization relating to the neighborhood layout?
Can you say your question again? Not really understand.
Is there any impact in terms of in the neighborhood social relating to how the neighborhood is laid out within the urban landscape design?
Yes, I found the urban planning why it didn't work because they need something missing. We need a small scale neighborhood, like up to 100. If you can't see, you can't recognize your neighborhood's face. If change too quick, you will feel not safe. And safety is a basic human need. So that's why community won't work. So I found currently the community planning, whatever in most urban planning, even though in Australia, it probably designed for 5,000 people and they call neighborhood system. But you can't recognize 5,000 people's faces. It's impossible. So I had to down to the street level. So that's why I didn't call it like a living neighborhood association. I call it living streets association. So, but we are now also, I won't have time today. Actually, we are trying the other very excellent project here, combined with the external setting. It's the 150 household development, cooperate with the government and the local neighborhood and demonstrate housing and great architects, 30 years experience, passive housing. So we are actually a group of students under scholarship flying to Australia Canberra now, and from architecture faculty in Zhonghua University. This year I'm adjunct over there. So we are doing some very fantastic program, try to bring this as a model so we can promote to like Canberra as a first, because we already have a land and going to do something. Then Taiwan is the next step. Yes, the other professor also very interested. Then I hopefully one day I will travel to Malay. Yes, or yes, it can promote worldwide, but we have to have a successful model first.
All right. So in relation to what you presented during your first session, I've noticed that the design relates to a lot, almost like a feng shui-like design. So does feng shui actually play a role in the Eastern landscape of urban planning? And if so, how does that influence the urban planning landscape in the West?
You mean yes, in the living street, if you see from website, you won't read that's a Easterners setting up those kind of thing, or Taiwanese. You won't see. Even though I'm the co-founder of this organization, I try to put all my name out because here majority probably 90% are the Western people, like the communities, because we try to promote that and Eastern concept. And later I found when I do those kind of experiment, I found that's not just Eastern concept. Actually, the people from Greek, from Croatia, from Italy, from Malaysia, from Japan, everyone told me, oh, 60 years ago or 80 years ago, we all living that way. If we are building a house in the street, everyone come to help. So then if we want to implement in the Western society, I won't like a culture. I won't let people feel like a culture attack, like because that's a it's very, I'm not quite sure how we describe. For them, we're like a culture attack, even though it's an Eastern concept. So you don't like this kind of like America design the Malaysia village, you will feel that's terrible. Did you know me? So no one want to do that. So actually the spirit design is actually already mixed inside the context. But when you express out, I strongly believe this kind of concept can apply everywhere, not just Australia or not just Canberra. It can easily. So that's why we're setting up a living street association starting from Canberra and particularly suburb. They win a lot of children's award. Then it's quite successful model after 10 years. So I know it will work if we follow kind of principle. So we will also run free consultation if someone want to learn. Then we have to, as an NGO, a lot of youth, they now know how to promote. Then they are university students as well, and they're passionate about that, even though they are not in the design faculty, but people want to live like this way. Then, yeah, do I answer your question?
Yes, you do. So thank you so much for a very insightful talk. So once again, we are pleased to have Dr. Jane Lee Chen Lee on the final day of our Arcadesa 2021. And we greatly appreciate your significant contribution. Thank
Thank
you
you.
to
Thank you
thank
to hope to see you soon in Canberra with Dr. Hesseling.
Oh yes, we'll do one day.
She's
so
coming very soon.
So thank you to everyone who has joined in this session. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank all respected lecturers, dearest friends from Indonesian Art Institute, ISI, Yogyakarta, Indonesia, Silpakon University in Thailand, and the University Technology Mara, UITM, Malaysia. Coming up, don't miss out the closing ceremony of Arcadesa 5 stage at 2 p.m. later today. Do follow us at Arcadesa5 on our official Instagram page and Facebook page. I'm Elena Azmi, and until then, stay safe and take care. We hope to see you again soon.